Hi, I'm Daniel Judd with Shark RC Bodies, and I'm going to show you how to easy and painlessly mount a shark body. And this will probably go for anybody out there. So get it? Haha, anybody. So let's get into this. There's going to be a couple tools that we're going to use. These are the tools that I use from starting to finish, other than, you know, drill bits and stuff for wings and stuff. But to actually get the body mounted and trued and everything, this is what I'm going to use right here. I have your basics are just I just have some Fisker straight scissors. I have some, you can get them at your local hobby shop probably, the curved body scissors for the wheel wells and the fine cuts around the corners and stuff. I have a Sharpie. Use one with a good tip. I have a space tool, and basically it is obviously a magnet key holder, and I'll show you why we chose that here in a minute. Whatever you use at home is probably going to be different. I have a protoform part here that is really good for doing my wheel wells and stuff like that. I can use it for all kinds of stuff, getting into sharp corners and stuff like that, or bigger stuff when it has more of a radius. So that's what we're going to use that for. And obviously to drive that and to drive this bit right here, which is just your normal Dremel or Craftsman or whatever, your hobby rotary device, is just a smaller cone. I think the OD of this is like I don't know, like 3/8 or something like that. So it's just your normal cone. This one obviously has some wear, but I think you get the point. And then the tool itself. So let's get into introducing the body that we are going to work with, or one of the bodies we're going to work with tonight. Wait. So the body that we're going to go ahead and mount tonight is going to be the Shark RC Bodies Black Widow, the new Corvette that just came out. This is a real street body, but you know, have been into this for years and years, I'm looking at this body in person, and this absolutely 100% could be used for outlaw. It's going to be extremely fast in outlaw. Considering that if I was putting it on my PBR car here that has the floating mounts, I could really get this thing low to the ground. But this is actually going to be used as a real street body, and on the car that we're going to put it on, because that's the chassis. It's an old Bullet car. We'll get to that in a minute. But this body isn't in the form of how it came from Paul at Shark RC Bodies. We've actually cut the height on it already, and I'm going to show you a really easy way to do that. Full disclaimer from Shark RC Bodies: if you are a veteran racer or even a new guy, and you see something that you disagree with, or that you want to do it a different way, that's fine. There's 100 different ways to skin a cat. This is what I do to put any body on any car. It's a very generic way to do it, and it's very it'll produce good results. So let's dive right into it. So here's the car that we're going to use, and like I said before with the Corvette, we have cut it down. We've skirted the car, okay? So to get that, an easy way to do that is obviously before your holes are in your body. Sometimes if you were to put this on here, you see how high it's going to sit and the body mounts are hitting the body? Well, that isn't going to work, because that's not going to tell you right where the wheels are going to ride and how low on the chassis you're going to be. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cheat it. I'm going to turn this car upside down, okay? I am going to pick the body. If the camera could follow me down here level. Now, rule of thumb, right now we just want to get it close. And remember, you always want to leave more and trim a little bit at a time later, because if you go too high at first, you can't ever add that back and the body doesn't look or work right. So the first thing I like to do is Shark bodies, all body manufacturers pretty much have two different kind of bodies. You have a body that has a very definitive wheel well mold line in it, and you have ones like this, okay? Ones that don't have any markings. It's kind of an open canvas of what you want to do. In this case, what I would do always is put your front wheel. Now this car doesn't have floating mounts, so I'm going to give it plenty of room right here for the wheel to go up and down, which is probably about right where it's at, okay? Then I'm going to, with the front end on the ground, I'm going to hold the rear end right about where I want it, and then I'm going to center my front wheel. I want my front wheel probably right around there, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to center the front wheel, put the front wheel right where I want it, and then that leaves the rear wherever it leaves the rear. Now watch what happens if I was to take this hump where it stops and then gets high all the way out the back, and I center that. You see what I just did to the front? It looks really goofy. It's not how you want it. So always put your front wheel first, okay? And then that's where the rest of the car is going to be set from, okay? Now I want to hold the body right about where I think it's going to be, and I want to take about a 1/2 inch. Here's the bottom of the wheel, and the bottom of the wheel is at the bottom of the Lexan right here. And I want to come up about a 1/2 inch here and a 1/2 inch here, so the body has plenty of room off the ground. Or taking into consideration that I'm pretending right now that these wheels are sitting on the ground, okay? So now that we have found our center for our front wheel, which laid the rest of the chassis, we've also taken our height that we want the body to be trimmed at. And then that right there is the first step, getting these 2 marks on both sides of the body. You can see this has already been done over here. Once you get that far, you're ready to skirt the body. Okay, so now that I have my 4 marks, I have the height marks where I want to skirt the body, taking into consideration that I don't want to go too high in the body, because if I go too high, I can't put it back, but I can always trim a little bit more if I need it. So I'm going to take this body and this flange, the molding flange that the body is sent to you with, you're going to put that on a flat surface, okay? And you're going to hold it really flat. And here's where the key holder came in handy, okay? Now, this might be a TV remote. This might be I don't know, a can of chew. It might be anything that you have laying around the house that gives you the perfect distance off of the surface right here up to your mark that you made. So if you notice, I want a perfect line at the same all the way around this car. So how I'm going to achieve that is I'm going to hold this thing really flat, and I'm just going to do this all the way down the car, okay? I'm going to come into the front. I'm going to skirt this thing, okay? So I'm skirting the car. No matter where I move, it's the same line, okay? Now that's going to give me a really good place to start. Now in a real street class, you want to make sure that, obviously we all want to cut our cars low and have low cars, but with a real street class, whether it's this body or another body, you don't want to cut up too high. You definitely don't want to cut the back out. In real street, you want to leave the back in. For outlaw, you could probably remove a good portion of this to let airflow come through. But this is going to be a real street body. If you notice, I've left all the door here. I've left the front splitter right here, or the chin spoiler. Okay, and basically this. Once I cut this skirting line in this body, this is what it's going to look like. Now I have the perfect height, okay? Once I have the perfect height, so after we've skirted the vehicle, or the body, the one other thing that we have to do is we're going to put it back on the car upside down again. The car's upside down. And we're going to reline up our center line with the front wheel that the rest of it's set off of. And we're going to put it right at the height, right where we think, you know, we want the wheel to be. It's a little bit more finer this time. Then I'm going to start putting these dots around the wheel, okay? And you can put these dots right where the wheel or the tire, the outside of the tire is, and I'm just going to follow it around, okay? And once I follow those around, I can come back and put one on the center, right on the outside of the wheel, in between the dots that I just did, okay? Then before you know it, you got damn near a perfect wheel well in the front, okay? And that is where I'm going to start that, okay? Now this body, the Vet, or the Black Widow, is really close to the other body that I showed, that it doesn't have a definitive line. So as you can see, with a body like this from Shark, that has an actual definitive line where the wheel needs to go. Again, I'm going to start by putting that front wheel right where I want it, and I'm going to let that set the pace for the rest of the chassis. But with one like this, that doesn't have, kind of leaves it open on the sides for what you need to do, then in that way, I need some kind of basis to square the body up top. So we've already skirted the body. We have found the center focal point for the front wheels, and we've put the dots around to locate the wheel. Then we're going to take the body off and flip the chassis over, and it's ready. It's time. We're ready to mark some holes. So I'm going to put this back on the car with the car right side up now. And this is where you kind of have to just take your time, and because you only get one shot at this, but it's really easy to do. So now I'm going to look down the side of the car. I'm going to mark my center line up. I'm going to do that on both sides. Okay. So the body is just perfect. Then I'm going to set the left and right on the body and make sure that the body's centered. Okay. So there's a couple ways I can do that. I can do that with a tape measure, okay, at about 3/4 there and about 1/2 there. So I'm going to come over this way just a little bit. And that's just about the same on both sides now. So what I'm going to do is, once I know that I am front to rear on my center lines, which I still am, and I'm left and right and I'm centered, okay, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to mark the front body mounts. Okay. So at this point, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put the 2 front body mount holes in. We've skirted the body. We've based off of the height and the dimensions of setting everything off of the center line of the front wheel. We have marked the center line of the front wheel and a very vague line of the front wheel well. Then I can put it on, get it front to back right where I want it, left and right, and make the front perfectly center. Then I'm going to take my rotary tool and I'm going to pop the holes. Now, do this slowly, okay? And it's a lot easier to use one of these and get good at this than using a drill bit. A drill bit just sucks a drill bit through the Lexan. It's just too thin. It's not the right tool. This is how we do it. So I'm going to, you can get really into this and measure them and this and that, but I've been doing this so long that I'm just going to kind of eyeball the diameter of the body mount that I want to go through the hole. And I don't want to make the hole too big. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this on. It doesn't need to be up all the way. I'm going to burn a hole right where my marks are in the front, only the front, about the same size as this, and you don't want to go any bigger. So I'll show you why. Then I'm going to come in here. I'm going to very carefully take that little melted dimple off. Okay. Once I get the dimples off, I take this tool. Now with one of these, you want to go light. If you push on this at all, it'll sink right through the Lexan. So all this is doing is just deep burring the hole. And sometimes not all of it comes off. And we're going to take that and we're going to put the body mounts through. So now this really locks in the front, okay? And then what I'm going to do is I'm really going to be careful on where my body is going to land in the rear. And I want it to be just perfect. I want it to be perfectly centered. And it looks like that's about as close as it's, is this thing,
You can move these around a little bit.
Let's make sure they're straight. Okay. And that's what I saw. My eye was catching this one leaning. So, and them being, and then your eye can catch the lines. Like, see, this right here is the body mount bolt that's going to go through the body. And I kind of line that up and say, you know, that's about a 1/2 inch there, and it's about a 1/2 inch there. So if it's that close up top, let's take a look at the difference between the outside of the body that still exists because the wheel well hasn't been cut out, and the outside of the actual tire underneath the body. And that distance looks exactly like this side over here. So this is actually telling you a story, and you've double checked that story by the actual physicality of the location of the wheel, okay? So I'm going to mark those guys. Now, if you notice, my partner in crime here for Shark RC Bodies, Mr. Rich Levacque, on this real street car, has 2 different body mounts. He's got a regular, you know, old like Associated style body post that is considerably larger than what he's got in the back. In the back, he's got the aftermarket. I don't know what these are. Who makes the RPM or something like that? And for the body nuts. And so that is the small hole we want to put in the back of this thing right now. And I will tell you right off the bat that I've had enough of these. And if you put too small a hole, then they get caught in the threads and they just make it just a nightmare to take on and off. So what have we done? We've turned the car over. Okay. We found our center line of our front wheel. And we've put that right where we want. We've held it at height. We have marked where we want that to end, about a 1/2 inch up from the bottom of the tire. We have taken the car out of the equation. We've set it on the table. We have found something that was just the right height to draw our line to skirt the body. Then we brought the car back. We did some more wheel well work just to give us more of a fine location of the wheel, location of the wheel, more of a sense of where it's going to be. Then once we've done that, we've perfectly centered the front of the car, and I just kind of didn't go over that. Well, if the back, if you come over here, if the front is on but the back is way off, you also don't want to do that because then your body mounts are off like that. So when you do this and you make the front, you kind of want to look at the whole thing. You want to say, okay, you know, the back is pretty close, but the front is just perfect. So that's when I'm going to put those 2 dots on either side of the body for the body post holes in the front. Now I've done the front ones first because that's just one easy way to lock that in. You've got so many things that are perfect that run together at different angles. You have the body is centered this way. You have it front to back this way. It's on your center line. If you look through the Lexan and the center line of the wheel, you can actually still see it line up to your center line, and it also looks great on your wheel well dots that you've done. So you know that rear end is the only thing left. It's ready to get locked in. Let's lock it in, okay? So same thing. These ones are a little bit trickier to do with this bigger bit, but I'm just going to give it some little ride. We're going to very lightly. I am not pushing. I am literally just twisting it really lightly just to take some of the burrs off. Same thing with the outside. Again, I like to do my little RPM mounts here on these kind of mounts back in the day when I was using them a little looser than most people. So if you notice, that body just, it literally falls on. See how nice that turned out? Now, you can make more adjustments. Now, this car had a different body on it. And now that the thing is on the actual car, okay, I think the body and everything is fine, but now the stops on this specific car are at the height of the other body that used to be on it. So now what we're going to do for this body is we're going to lower these things all the way down to the shock tower. These collars are probably going to go down a hole or 2, and when you're all said and done and you adjust the body to the chassis now, what you're going to end up with is something like that. It's going to look really, really good. And like I said, if you follow those steps, see how easy. I mean, the thing is just perfect every time, and it is perfectly true. So Again, thank you for following and supporting Shark RC Bodies. This concludes the body segment of this video. And thank you again, like I said, for our continuous support of the body. I believe these are the bodies that are champions by design. So thank you.